He hadn't spoken in 3 years, until she said this. It was past 11 on a Tuesday night, and the rain hadn't let up since morning. Inside Maggie's diner, the overhead lights flickered once, then steadied over booth number 7 where he always sat. Same black coat. Same untouched coffee. Same silence that seemed to swallow sound around him. Maya wiped down the counter with tired hands, her feet aching through worn-out shoes. She'd just finished her second shift, first at the laundromat, then here, and her 4-year-old, Jamal, was home with a fever, watched by a neighbor who'd already texted twice asking if she was coming soon. Rent was due Friday. Her car needed brakes. And yet, every night this Korean man came in, sat alone, and left without a word. She never asked his name. He never offered it. But tonight was different. As she passed his booth to refill the sugar shakers, she saw it, a single tear rolling down his cheek, landing silently on the chipped Formica table. His eyes were fixed on a small photo tucked under his sleeve, a little girl in a bright yellow raincoat, laughing mid-spin. Maya paused. No one else in the diner noticed. The cook was humming in the back. The only other customer was asleep in booth 3. But Maya saw him. Really saw him. And without thinking, she pulled out the chair across from him, sat down, and said softly, "You don't have to be strong here." He looked up shocked, almost frightened, as if no one had spoken to him like that in years. Because no one had. His name was Ji-hoon Park. To the world, he was the founder of Nexera Technologies, a self-made billionaire whose face had been on Forbes, whose name opened boardrooms across Seoul and Silicon Valley. But to himself? He was just a father who'd lost his only child. 3 years ago, on a day just like this, rain slicking the streets of Seoul, his 8-year-old daughter, Sumin, had chased a red balloon into the road. He'd been 2 steps behind. 2 steps too slow. The screech of tires. The silence after. Since then, he'd spoken only when necessary. Signed papers. Gave orders. But never laughed. Never cried out loud. Never let anyone in. Until tonight. Until Maya. She didn't know who he was. Didn't recognize the $10,000 watch on his wrist. Didn't care. She just saw a man drowning in grief and remembered her own father walking out when she was 6, leaving her mother to work 3 jobs just to keep the lights on. So she did what no one else had, she offered him space to fall apart. "My son's sick tonight," she said quietly, not to complain, but to connect. "Sometimes I sit in his room after he's asleep, just to hear him breathe." Ji-hoon's breath hitched. No one had ever shared something so raw with him, not since Sumin. He didn't speak. But he nodded. And for the first time in 1,095 days, he let himself cry. The next evening, Ji-hoon returned, but not in his usual suit. He wore a simple gray sweater, his hair slightly damp from the drizzle outside. Maya was surprised to see him so early. She'd assumed last night was a one-time thing. But there he was, in booth 7 again, watching her as she refilled ketchup bottles. This time, though, his eyes weren't distant. They were present. When her shift ended at midnight, he was still there. As she untied her apron, he stood and walked over. No words. Just a manila folder placed gently on the counter. "Open it," he said, his voice rough from disuse, but calm. Maya hesitated. Was this a tip? A complaint? She opened it. Inside was a lease agreement for the empty storefront next door. "I bought the building last week," he said. "The space has a kitchen, good plumbing, big windows. It's yours." Maya stared. I can't afford rent." "You won't pay any," he said. "Not for 5 years." She shook her head, tears welling. "Why? You don't even know me." He looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, smiled faintly. "You saw me when I felt invisible. That's rare." Over the next few weeks, the truth came out slowly. Ji-hoon started coming by during the day, not just at night. He brought architects. Helped her design the layout. Insisted on top-grade appliances. but never once offered cash. Instead, he asked questions. What kind of food did your grandmother make? What would make Jamal proud of you? He learned she'd dreamed of opening a soul food cafe since she was a teenager. Collard greens, peach cobbler, sweet tea with just the right amount of sugar. Her mother had taught her everything before she passed. Then let her live through this place, Jihoon said. The real twist? Maya still didn't know who he was. She thought he was just a kind stranger with some money. It wasn't until a local news crew showed up during the soft opening, drawn by rumors of a mystery investor, that she saw his face on their tablet. Jihoon Park. Billionaire. Recluse. Grieving father. She confronted him that night, voice trembling. You could have just written a check and walked away. He shook his head. Money fixes problems. But it doesn't heal people. You healed me by seeing me. So I wanted to give you what you gave me, a chance to be seen. Opening day of Maya's Hope arrived on a crisp Saturday morning. The line wrapped around the block. Neighbors, regulars from the diner, even strangers who'd heard the story online, all came to support her. Inside, the walls were painted warm terracotta, photos of Maya's mom and Jamal hung near the register, and the smell of smoked turkey necks and cornbread filled the air. Jihoon sat in booth number 1, his new favorite spot, watching as Maya moved through the crowd with quiet confidence. At one point, Jamal ran over with a crayon drawing, 2 stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. That's you and me, Uncle G, he said proudly. Jihoon's eyes glistened. Later, as the sun set, Maya brought him a slice of peach cobbler, his favorite, though he'd never told her. How'd you know? He asked. She smiled. You always stared at the dessert case like you missed something sweet. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. No grand speeches. No dramatic music. Just 2 people who'd found each other in the wreckage of loss and built something beautiful from it. Months later, Jihoon still came every Saturday. Not as a billionaire. Not as a ghost. But as a friend. And Maya? She hired 2 single moms from her old neighborhood. Started a scholarship fund for kids in Jamal's school. And every night before closing, she'd leave a cup of black coffee in booth 1 just in case someone else needed to feel seen. Because that's the thing about kindness, it doesn't end with one act. It ripples. It rebuilds. It reminds us that even in our loneliest moments, we're never truly alone. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Because in a world that moves too fast, sometimes all someone needs is one person to stop, look them in the eyes, and say, you don't have to be strong here.